Today we're taking a look at our Hasselblad V to Canon EF tilt rocker tilt shift adapter. This is a lens adapter that adapts a medium format Hasselblad V lens to your Canon EF mount film or DSLR camera, and it has built-in tilt shift functionality. As you can see, this is a pro grade adapter. It is all metal. It has a really nice professional finish to it, so it'll fit right in with your pro Canon EF gear. And like I said, this adapter has built-in tilt shift functionality. You press this silver button here to shift the lens left or right, and then you loosen this gold knob here to tilt the lens up to 10 degrees of tilt. So this adapter will work just like a standard adapter when you leave it in the standard mode, but then it also has the built-in shift technology and the built-in tilt technology. So it'll basically turn any adapted Hasselblad V lens into a tilt shift lens. And this is incredibly useful, especially if you already have Hasselblad V lenses and a Canon EF camera. This is a great way to add tilt shift functionality to those lenses. It's also a great way to create an affordable tilt shift lens. Now, how exactly do lens adapters work? How am I able to adapt this lens to this camera and maintain infinity focus? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It all comes down to focal flange distance. Medium format lenses like this Hasselblad V lens were designed for cameras that had a mirror that would go up and down, and so they needed quite a bit of space between where the lens mounted and where the film plane was for that mirror. So these lenses were designed to focus to infinity when the piece of film was right about here. Now, when we try to adapt this lens to a DSLR Canon camera, if we were able to mount it directly on to the body of the camera, the point where this lens focuses to infinity would actually go beyond the sensor of this camera. So if we were able to mount this lens directly to the camera, it would not be able to focus at all. Everything would be out of focus. We need a little extra space between the lens and this camera for this lens to focus to infinity, and we fill up that space with a lens adapter. And we can make a standard Hasselblad V to EF lens adapter, and we do, but we also can put special functionality into the adapter, in this case tilt shift functionality, so we can create a specialty adapter like this tilt rocker and give you extra functionality with adapted Hassi V lenses. Okay, here's how to mount a Hasselblad V lens on this adapter. It's actually pretty simple. You're just going to find the red mounting dot on the lens, which is right here. You're going to line it up with the red mounting dot on the adapter, press the lens into the adapter, and then rotate it to lock it into place. Then if you need to remove the Hasselblad V lens, you're just going to come find this little silver tab here, press that tab in, that unlocks the lens from the adapter, and you can remove it. Now, before we adapt this Hasselblad V lens to our adapter, there are a couple things we have to check. Hasselblad V lenses were designed to communicate with Hasselblad V cameras, and as you can see, currently the shutter inside the lens is closed. So if we want to adapt this lens and use it on our mirrorless camera, we need to open that shutter. And the way to do that is to adjust this little piece right here. Now we can use a Hasselblad tool, or if you don't have one of those, you can use a simple flathead screwdriver. You're simply going to place it in here, and you're going to rotate it. Just be sure not to hurt the sensor. And if we rotate it all the way, we should have locked open the shutter. As you can see, shutter is now open. So now we can adapt this lens to the camera, and we can actually have the sensor see through it, and we can use the shutter inside our digital camera rather than the shutter in this lens. Now, the other thing we have to do is turn on the depth of field preview on this lens and keep it on. So when we adjust the aperture, it's actually adjusting. Currently, no matter what I do, as I turn the aperture ring, the lens is staying wide open. This lens was designed to keep the leaf shutter wide open inside the lens until you took a shot, and then it would close it down to whatever aperture you had it set to. But when we adapt this lens, we're going to want to set the aperture in real time. And the way we do that is we use this lever right here. This is the depth of field preview lever, and we're just going to engage it by sliding it this way and keeping it locked in place. As you can see now, I can adjust my aperture and it is opening and closing. Because I have the depth of field preview lever engaged, I can set the aperture to whatever I want and it's setting it right there. And that allows me to shoot with my mirrorless camera with this lens adapted to it and have the correct aperture. And here's how to mount the lens and adapter on a Canon EF camera. You're going to treat it just like a standard EF lens. Line up the red mounting dot on the adapter with the red mounting dot on the camera. Press the adapter into the camera and rotate it to lock it into place. And just like that, we've got this beautiful Hasselblad V 80mm lens adapted to our Canon DSLR camera. And if we leave the adapter just like this, it will work just like any manual lens. You just shoot directly through the center of the lens. And just because this is a medium format lens, that doesn't mean the field of view is any different. So this is an 80mm medium format lens, so it's going to be an 80mm full frame equivalent on this camera. Now I am using this Rebel camera, which is an APS-C crop sensor, so you will have that APS-C crop with the 80mm lens. This adapter will work just fine on an APS-C crop camera, but you can also use it on a full frame Canon EF camera as well. So like I said, if you keep it set up just like this, it's going to work just like any other manual lens. But if you want to shift the lens, you're just going to press this silver button on the top. You can shift 10mm to the left. You can shift 10mm to the right for a total of 20mm of shift. And you can actually rotate this shift. You're just going to press this silver button in on this side and this silver button in on this side. And if we press them both in at the same time, we can rotate the adapter 360 degrees. So now we can shift up or down. We can even rotate it so it is diagonal. Let's see here. Yeah, like that. So we can shift diagonally as well. And one of the useful in-camera effects you can create with a shift lens is perspective distortion correction. Let's say you're pointing this lens up at a tall building, and because you're down low looking up at it, the building's leading lines are not going to be straight. They're actually going to be going together. That's the distortion that you're seeing from your perspective. And this is especially true if you're using a wider lens. This is an 80mm lens, so it's not going to have a lot of distortion. But let's say you're using a 40mm, you are going to get more of a distortion with a wider lens. And you can actually correct these distorted lines with a shift lens. You're basically just going to rise the lens. You're going to shift it up. You don't have to shift it up all the way. Shift it about here. And those leading lines in the building are going to go from coming together to a straighter, more orderly look. So shifting in architecture photography is a great way to make the lines in your buildings straighter for a more pleasing photographic look. And you can even use shift in video to do the same thing. You can control perspective with a wide angle lens in video or in your photography. Another cool thing you can do with a shift lens like this is you can create a shift panorama. You're going to lock your camera down, set up your lens so it's all in focus on your scene. Then you're going to shift all the way to the left, take a photo. In this case, because we're using an APS-C sensor, we're going to shift to the center, take a second photo. Then we're going to shift all the way to the right and take a third photo. And we can take these photos into Photoshop, use the photo merge function, and stitch them together for a panoramic stitched image. Now, because with this particular tilt rocker adapter, there is no tripod foot, when we're shifting, we're actually moving the lens rather than the camera. So if you have objects really close to the frame when you shoot a stitched panorama, you can run into issues with the stitch. But as long as you're shooting a landscape and all of the subjects in focus are far away, you should be able to get a really nice shift panorama image. Now let's look at using the tilt functionality in this adapter. We've got this golden knob right here, and loosening this is going to allow us to tilt the lens. Now you'll see when the lens is centered, it's kind of hard to get at that gold knob. Easiest way to access it is just to shift the lens over a little bit. That exposes the knob, then we can loosen it. And we can tilt down up to 10 degrees of tilt, and there are actually little markers on the adapter so you can see how many degrees you're tilting. Let's tilt all the way down to 10 degrees. We'll tighten the tilt so now it is locked in place, and we can shift the lens back to the center. There we go. Now we've got the lens tilted. And by tilting the lens, what we're doing is we're taking the flat focal plane of the lens and we're actually tilting it. And by tilting that focal plane, we're creating a sliver of focus. If we tilt down, we're going to have a horizontal sliver of focus and the top and bottom will be out of focus. And if we rotate the tilt like this, so we're tilting sideways, now the sliver focus will be vertical and the left and right will be out of focus. Now, if you tilt all the way, you're going to create a very drastic selective focus effect. And that's great for some people who want to shoot artistic photography. They want that extreme selective focus look. But if you just want slight selective focus adjustment, you can just tilt a couple degrees of tilt. And by tilting the lens just slightly, you can actually subtly modify the focal plane of your scene. So if you're photographing a still life, you've got two subjects that are in different focal planes. By tilting just slightly, you can actually focus on both of them at the same time. So this is a great subtle tool if you are shooting product photography, if you just want that slight focal adjustment. It's also a great drastic tool if you want a really artistic dreamlike effect, if you want to have drastic amounts of selective focus. It's really up to you and what you want to use tilt effects for in your photography and video. Okay, that was a quick look at our Hasselblad V to Canon EF tilt rocker tilt shift adapter. Now we don't just carry this kind of tilt rocker. We have an entire line of tilt shift adapters for Canon EF DSLRs as well as other types of lenses and cameras. So if you'd like to learn more about this specific adapter, click the link in the description below. Also click the link in the description below to check out our entire line of tilt rocker tilt shift adapters. If you have any questions about anything I said in today's video, comment below. I'd love to help you out. Plus, click right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos just like this one.